another hand to Rosina. This is their busiest day. She takes the time here. Very knowledgeable staff. Rosina's learned the most. So thank you again for coming. And we'll, while that goes on, we'll take and pass around the cash for cluckers. Oh, I'm still on last year. I used that so many times. I thought that was so funny. But the 10% discount good for today on anything and everything you purchase except for sale and bulk items. So there you have it. Wow, good. Well, that, yes, ma'am.
I've got a question about the collecting of droppings of the manure.
Yes.
My husband and I are building new little coop, and I read about drop boards.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if anyone has used drop boards, and if they have, what kind of luck they've had with them.
Okay.
Or if there's problems with drop boards.
The question, and that'll kind of feed back into your question, is about best methods for collecting chicken compost, black gold, and if has anyone here, can they share their experience with using drop boards?
Are you talking about a board below the roost at night?
Yeah, the board's underneath the roost.
Yes.
I've got one of those. It works great.
How do you collect it from there?
How far underneath the roost are the boards?
The roost is about here, and then the board's about here. It slants back. There's a door behind that, right behind the roost, that you can open up and then just scrape all of it out.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You can get at the dollar store, the little scrapers or whatnot. That's one way to collect. Another way, and I'll come right back to you, is to integrate is, and we're working on revamping probably the coop we built. We knew when we did it the first time, we just wanted to kind of get the essentials, made sure it was structurally stable, everything else, and then come back around. But most of the poop goes on at night. That's the scoop on poop with chickens, is you got it there. So if you can design your collection to be most effective there, I mean, one way is these drop boards. Depending on the rest of your structure and security being first, you could also have it where it's more open or a slide out, like a big, low plastic, what do you call those? They go under the bed, you know those low plastic under the bed drawers? Something like that. If you built a drawer that collected that through some kind of scraping, pulled it out daily, or had some kind of maybe grid over it so they couldn't go right into it. But that's where I would think it'd be a pretty effective way to collect it without having to spend a lot of time scooping it. Those are some ideas. And I know this woman had another comment here real quick, and then we'll move on.
I just have hay and sawdust on the bottom, and then like she said, you have the boards, and then I just use the kids' old hose and tools from the summertime, and I just use that because they got the shorter ends and just scrape everything down. And then all that stuff just goes in the compost.
So I'll repeat that in case back there couldn't hear. What she was saying is she uses drop boards, but she also has hay and sawdust below, so she scoops it all in, bundles it all up, and out to compost it goes.
Yeah, and then they pick
29 to 1.
29 to 1.
Is the hay considered like brown matter for it? I mean, like reducing the hay?
Yes. Yes, hay is brown. And I saw a hand go up. Okay, there it was, Patrick.
I guess if you look at another circle around what you're all doing, and that is how do you improve your yard and your soil, we still like the chicken tractor idea, and being able to move that around and distribute all that manure with less labor. That still makes a lot of sense and a lot less labor later on.
I don't know if you want to come talk about a few things or not. Well, we'll take this time. This is Patrick. I'll let Patrick introduce himself, but Patrick Van Heeren with Microbial Earth, and he can talk a little about his, and then we'll have Clark Berkey come up and might have some ideas to add into this whole sustainability talk.
Well, thanks everyone for the introduction today. I spoke after Michelle at the Renewable Energy Roundup, and at that event I was speaking more on water, how do we capture more of the water in our soils. Our perspective, Microbial Earth means, how many of you have seen those pictures of home security systems where you have the electrons covering all of your house? And they say you're going to be safe forever because nothing can touch. Our vision of the world is where all of your trees, your plants, your soil is got a layer of microbes over everything. And that does a lot of great things for you. And so all of our work is focused on how do we get the role of those microbes working in our backyards. And that saves you water, up to 50% water we can save in 3 years' time. It helps you capture more of your rainwater. But it also increases the flavor, the nutrient density of your foods, your eggs. So chickens are a great way to do that. And I commend you all for having chickens, you're interested in chickens. I've had up to 25 broilers and hens at one time on my property in downtown Austin. If I didn't have 2 kids, kids I was raising right now, I'd probably have more chickens. And I think my biggest challenge right now is making sure my 3-year-old doesn't get too aggressive with them. He likes to show them off, and well, you can imagine. So our business is focused on basically 3 areas. One is how to build up your soil, compost. 2 is how to break down your compost, so compost systems. And so it becomes a circle that way. And then the 3rd thing we do is an area called probiotics, which is just a different set of microbes that we use in a lot of our products. You can buy them for human consumption. You can use them to break down pet waste. You can use them to preserve or pickle food scraps or break down compost faster. They're a very easy to replicate set of microbes we can use all around our yards. Our biggest product is compost tea. And so we did a lot of study on compost and how to make the best compost in Texas. And if you can find something that's better, please come and show it to me. But we try to have something that's probably 8 times better, 10 times better than the average compost that you'll find from most vendors, you know. So we very much look at, we don't take any tipping fees with our stuff. We try to have the purest ingredients possible. And then we just get massive amounts of microbes going in there to help eat everything. And so what happens in a great compost is you get all the excrements, the slimes, the manures from all these microbes running through there. They're dead bodies. And they all have a positive charge. And we put in fine micronized clay. And that has a negative charge. And we put in this azomite product, which is minerals and trace elements. And all those slimes, they all come together around that clay, because that's negative, everything else is positive, and they bind. And it's like making little asteroids. Those hold 4 times their weight in water and last 12 times longer in your soil, because there's got all these little pockets in there, and every time there's another layer of slime, it fits on there in an odd way and has all those little holes in there, and that traps the water. So that's the holy grail of soil. It's called humus or humified compost, and that's what we try to produce. So when it comes back to the recipe for compost, we do a lot of formulations and recipes, and she's exactly right. It's 29 to 1. Carbon, pure carbon to pure nitrogen. So now a lot of your food is going to have about 6% nitrogen, maybe 2% carbon. So you got to factor all that in and moisture. And so I'm going to throw out an alternative recipe idea to you, and that is 4 pails of dead leaves or grass to 1 pail of food scraps. That's about the target ratio you want in your tumblers or any compost system. So, you know, we've done a lot of research. I've traveled up to Illinois, and I've taken advanced compost classes, stuff that just regular compost yards don't even want to touch. You know, we do things that are crazy. We buy all of our ingredients, which most compost yards, they take money for taking your ingredients. We don't touch that because we want to get the maximum microbe activity. We treat our compost bins like incubators. And the hardest part about composting here is nothing breaks down until it's 50% moisture. Okay? So if you squeeze it, you can get a drop or maybe 2 of moisture coming out of that compost. If you can't, it's too dry. And it's like trying to get a 2x4 to fall apart. You know, if you get it soaked with water, it'll start bowing and breaking and everything. If it's perfectly dry, it doesn't break down. Microbes can't break it down until it's 50% moisture at the molecular level. When that happens, then they start releasing all that carbon in there, and it matches with the nitrogen real easy. So get it that way. Now the real problem here is, a lot of this work, Rodale, he's up in Pennsylvania. All these other guys, up in Oregon. They get 1-to-1 ratios of rainfall to evaporation. Here, we evaporate 3 times more moisture than we get in rainfall. So now you're trying to get to 50%, and yet you're evaporating all your water all the time in the dry seasons. So putting on covers on your compost and treating it like an incubator, keeping all that moisture in there and not letting it go out, is your biggest job. Yeah? And then turning it. We religiously turn our compost, not because it gets too hot. We don't actually let it get that hot, but because we want to get the CO2 out and get more oxygen in. So how many of you understand the terms aerobic and anaerobic? Okay. Anaerobic means like alcohol. Alcohol production is anaerobic.